All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode. I'm here with not only a good friend, but someone who I look up to in the space and a top performer for a long time, Aaron Doria. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. It's an honor.
And so I'm excited for this conversation because we have like a work relationship or had a work relationship. We also have a friend relationship. And I was thinking about the things that I admire about you on a professional level is that I work within Alchemy. There's a lot of people in your organization who work with me.
Yeah.
And everyone I talk to loves working with you.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Yeah. They love you. You always bring good energy. And that's just really, from my perspective, just like a telltale sign of like a great leader. And so I'm curious, from your perspective, you know, the energy you always bring is very upbeat. It's very positive. It's very engaged. You also call it as it is.
Yeah.
You don't shy away from anything. And I think a lot of your guys respect you because of that, just from my perspective. So I'm curious, like, who are the most influential leaders for you? And is that like an intentional energy you bring, or is that just more of just like naturally who you are?
Well, yeah.
It's a loaded question.
Yeah. Look, I say the first thing, like, you know, we run Triumph that's our partnership name, our division name, I guess, at Vivint. And me and Puck are 50-50 partners. And some guys will joke around, like, you know, if you need like a pat on the back or someone to scratch your back, you know, you call Puck. And if you want to hear like how it is and get, you know, hear it raw, then you're going to call Doria. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, that's good for my brand. That kind of, that's like, I don't know, is that a compliment? I don't know, you know? And so, and I just don't know how to change it. I don't know how to like be fake. I'm just going to be real. So if I think something you're wearing is ridiculous, I'll tell you, you know, but I think it's awesome. I'm also going to tell you. But like whatever I say, you're going to know I authentically think that, you know. I know I've been kind of leading a lot of these, you know, guys and girls for a long time. I just shoot them straight. But at the same time, like they can genuinely feel that I do care about them. So like, I 100% care about you. Like I want you to crush. I want you to do good. I want you to dominate. I want you to be happy. I want you to be like a better person than when you came in, you know, but I'm going to tell you, like, you know, when you're messing, before I walked in here, I had a nice little heated conversation in the car. And it was like, hey, listen, like I'm on your side, but I feel like you are trying to tell me something and like prove your side. And, you know, I'm just going to sit here and be like, I don't believe that. And I don't think that's real. And I think this is what happened, you know, and I just kind of shoot him straight. We worked through it and we got there, and it just happened recently. So it's on my mind, but you know, I think he respects that though. He knows like, I'm not saying it for corporate. I'm not doing like the corporate. I'm like, no, this is how it really is. Like, this is how I truly think. And I think people respect that. And so it's nice. It's easy to grow with people because the trust is really high, and makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah. I mean, you use the word authentic, and it reminds me of the leadership quote where it's like, if you truly love someone, you tell them the truth.
Yeah.
Right. And so as hard as the truth can be sometimes, because I know you've had a lot of difficult conversations in your career, right? That by actually telling people the truth, it's actually coming from a place of love. Like, I love and I care about you, and I want you to be successful. And right, we have to have a difficult conversation.
Yeah.
Right. And so I love that you're just such a straight shooter, and you tend to bring in like this comedic relief as well.
Yeah.
Just to kind of soften the corners where you can.
Yeah, you have to, you know, a little bit. And so when you ask me like, well, who do I look up to? I mean, one CEO that I love right now is Dana White.
Yeah.
And he's very colorful. He can, you know, he'll, you know, there's a lot of clips of him going viral, good and bad. But the thing that I love about him is that that's 100% Dana White.
Yeah.
Like if he's in a corporate meeting or if he's talking to his UFC fighters, he's the same person.
Yep.
He's not fake. And then when he's talking to reporters, he says it how it is. And he pretty much can't get fired at this point because they love him so much. He runs the UFC, but he just tells it how it is all the time. And that authenticity right there, like, makes me want to follow him. Like, I love dealing with a real person.
Yeah.
And getting real responses, real reactions, real critiques. I'll follow that. And he's like someone that I look up to right now. Like he's really dominating.
Yeah,
in space.
I mean, he's a straight shooter.
He is, and he's killing it too.
Yeah,
He's killing
polarizing, and he's a straight shooter. You know, I appreciate a lot of the stuff he talks about too on that as well. With that being said, as you've like navigated your career, right? You know, and I wanted to talk about this because I don't know if you've probably ever talked about this, but like one thing I do admire about you is in the like chaos of the door-to-door industry as a whole.
There's a lot.
Yeah. There's a lot of chaos, right? Right. You've stayed put, right? And you've literally like dug your heels in the ground. You doubled down on yourself, and now you're paying the dividends. Where like a lot of our close friends have left, gone to different companies, started their own company, right? I'm curious, you know, talk to us about your decision to like stay at Vivint, because I think it deserves to be talked about because it's admirable. It's really easy to kind of look over the fence, be like, grass is greener. And I know that like you could have taken your team to another company and been like, hey, here's my region, and you've gotten a really nice paycheck, you know, but you've decided to like really like lock in where you're at. And I really respect you because of that. And so I'm curious, like, talk to me about like how that's been for you. Cause I know it's probably hasn't been easy.
No, it has not been. Yeah, it's been there's a lot of chaos. There should be a reality show of door to door, right?
Totally.
It could dominate. But yeah, so I mean, I did 5 years of door to door sales before Vivint,
right?
But very small mom and pop shops.
What was your first year at Vivint?
2013.
Okay.
2013 was my first year. And then I was very real with them. Jason Brown, brought us over and I came from ADT. I sold Monotronics my first year.
You're in the Dakotas, right?
Yeah. So I sold my first year. They went bankrupt. My first company went BK, but that's 2008 during the housing crash. Housing crisis, right? And then 2009, ADT small dealer. They went BK. Then the next year, 3 years with the same dealer, decent size. Like 16,000 accounts total for the dealer. And then I got recruited to Vivint year 6. And so, but I was always going to school. Advertising was going to be my thing. I did pretty well in school. Worked at an ad agency. So when I worked at Vivint, I only worked for 1 year, even told Jason, I'm only gonna do 1 year, then I'm gonna quit and go do advertising in Chicago, which I did do. I quit. I did good at Vivint. It was great. Quit, went and did advertising in Chicago, realizing corporate America isn't what I wanted to do, even though I was in charge of all the social media for KFC, which is, cool, but I'm like, selling diabetes on the internet is not as exciting as I wanted it to be, like, I choked on a bone. Like, oh, here's a coupon, sorry.
So you like writing the creative for it?
Yeah, I wrote like radio ads for them. Yeah. And then like we were in charge of like their Vine, rest in peace.
Dude, Vine was the best.
Vine, dude, was sick.
Miss Vine.
Yeah, I know.
Vine
6 seconds.
Unreal.
I love it. Yeah. And then, so we did a little bit of that. And then I just I didn't want to do corporate America.
So why not? Like, what's like the secrets of corporate where you're like, the people just don't understand? Because I've never done corporate, right?
the thing that so everything I do now is intentional, and I know it's like I'm moving towards my business, and and I love that. But in corporate America, there's a lot of just work, just to do work, and not really moving anything. And I feel like there's just a lack of ambition. And I'm like, people are always like staring at the clock, right when it hits 5, pack it up, bounce, kind of a thing. And I'm more like, well, what else can we do to dominate? What else can we do to get ahead? And then, if I go and sell 20 in a week, I'm going to be compensated, beautifully for that next Friday, right?
Yep.
Where, I can write a commercial for KFC and maybe it goes viral. It's a high five slap in the ass, but like nothing else happens. I'm not
no incentive.
There's no incentive, right?
Something, yeah.
And I just loved being in charge of my financial freedom. Yeah. Like whatever I want, what my goal is, whatever I kill, I eat, and it's on me. And I love that part of door to door, or just commission sales. I love that part. And then, the last thing was just I was working on a campaign on Halloween, and we were newlyweds, me and Hillary, and we were newlyweds. And she was downstairs in the lobby waiting for me. We were going to go out clubbing that night, and she's like waiting for me. And it was like 8:30 p.m. And then my boss was still working on a campaign. And I asked him like, hey, how many, don't you have any boys and kids? Like, yeah, I have 3 boys. Like, told me their ages. I'm like, are you gonna go trick or treating with them? He's like, oh man, with this job, I haven't been able to go trick or treating for like the last 3 years. And in that moment, that was it. That was like, I didn't say anything. It kept it in my head. I'm like, okay. When I went out with my wife, and I'm like, I'm not getting on this corporate ladder to work my way up to then not be able to go trick or treat with my kids when I want to. I want to be financially free, and I can make the choices if I want to sacrifice, family time for work. But
yeah. So how was that decision with Hill? Because it's like, you're like having this plan. We're going to go back, do corporate, kind of live this life. And then you're like, hey, babe, just kidding. Back to the doors.
Yeah, because she's like, you're gonna get your degree. We're not gonna do this thing, right? And I'm like, yeah, I got my degree, did really well. Yeah, I mean, we sat down on it, and I just showed her, I'm like, hey, this is how much we're making right now. And I can make more in corporate America. I can work my way up as a copywriter and advertising and stuff. But this is what I just made right now, knocking doors for 4 months, 1099, and I'm netting a lot more money, And so I explained that, math part to her, and I said, yeah, and I'm going to go back, but I've been treating summer sales always as like, an ugly stepsister, like this, the step, just like off to the side, not a big deal, like whatever, just not giving it like, any attention, just like, okay. And I'm like, when I go back though, I'm going to make it my career. I'm going to make it like, this is it, full attention, put in the hours that I'm supposed to, because now this is it. This has always just been to get through school. That was it, graduate debt free.
From summer job to professional job.
Yeah. And I'm like, and so when you want to make professional money, you got to be professional.
Was there pushback from Hill on that, or was she in?
It wasn't too much pushback because we were that Chicago was the record-breaking winter, so it was like negative 14 with the wind chill, you know. So and it was like they were canceling work, you know. People were dying from like icicles falling off the buildings and stuff. So we're like, you know, we can get out of here. So we left, and so it worked.
So that was 2013.
That was when I came back. It was 2014.
Yeah,
and I came back and I lost my downline. Because they all left to other companies. Because I said, I'm out. I'm doing advertising.
So you're like day one, 0 people.
I brought back 4 dudes. Yep. So I got 4 dudes to come back with me, and I came back into February. So just did I did 1 blitz before the summer started, and then I went out there 4 guys, and we did 645 total accounts with us. 5
guys.
5 guys.
That's a great number.
Yeah, I did 3. You know, 3 of us did 200. So
where were you knocking?
Fresno.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. To stay positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fresno, California.
California market. So, and then, I mean, the ball starts rolling from there.
Then we started building from there on, and it was a totally different game.
Yeah. So, you know, how did you guys navigate, you know, the whole solar thing, right? Because again, you know, what I want to get at is like your thought process of like sticking where your feet are.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's what's the whole hashtag thing. It's like still here.
Yeah. I wrote that. Yeah.
That was you.
That was me.
Yeah. Still here, which I love, you know, and
some people hate it.
Yeah.
But
I think it's great. I'm not still there. I'm not. I can't use it.
Yeah.
I can't use it. I left. Yeah. But like some of our closest friends have left, you know, and they've seen success, you know,
and we love them.
And we've got a tight community, but you know, you've stayed and like talk to us like,
well, so that 5 years before Vivint, right?
Yeah.
That helped me because I'm a convert to Vivint.
Yeah.
You know, I've been on the other side where we didn't get back-end checks because the company went bankrupt, right? I've been on the other side where it's just a shit show and no jobs are getting installed. We're waiting for equipment. We're not licensed in a state. We're waiting, like, you know, whatever. And so when I came to Vivint, I was a little bit more grateful than the other guys because I know how it was on the other side.
It was like not to get
And I'm like, guys, you don't understand. Having a cafeteria in the building, like, you don't understand. Like, just a cafeteria alone, like, you know. And so stuff like that, I was just really grateful. And so I was really, and I don't come for much. So the money I was making, I was very, you know, excited about it.
Yeah.
Then I started growing, and then we started getting the hang of it. We grew pretty fast and started booming. Then the solar wave came, right? And it's still here. It hasn't fully crashed at all. And hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it keeps on going. It's going great. In the peak of it, like 2020, 21, 22.
A lot of noise.
When the solar was like, you know, just you could make whatever money that was difficult, right? But in my personal opinion, I just truly believed in what we were selling.
Yeah.
I use the product all the time, save people's lives. I've had really cool, text messages from customers about it. Like I 100% believe in what we're selling.
Yeah.
And if I knock with anyone and you come shadow me, you'll see me talk to customers. I'm like, no, it's not this. It's like science. It's a matter of fact. It's math. This is 100% the best system out there. And that's how I talk. And I 100% believe in it. I think it's the best.
Yeah, it was so true. I was on a date last week and I was telling this girl, I'm like, yeah, I did door-to-door sales for 10 years. She's like, you did door-to-door sales for 10 years? Like, is that even a thing? You know, people outside of church don't know.
Yeah.
She's like, were you scamming people? I'm like, no, check it out. And so I pulled out and I showed her my Vivint app. I'm like, this is literally what we do with my camera. She's like, oh, that's actually way legit.
Yeah.
I'm like,
legit.
yeah, we're selling a legit product. She goes, oh, that makes a lot. Like, I've never seen that before. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, Vivint, I will say this, Vivint is the best home security system on the market. It's not even close.
Yeah. Point blank period. Yeah. And so that conviction that I had, right? Because when I was selling for ADT, you know, my dad was like, hey, let's get in the house. I'm like, let's just wait, you know, let's hold on. Let's see if this thing, you know, I was like, I don't know how great it is. But with Vivint, I was like, yeah, you need this. It's the best. Right. And so that conviction that I had in the product, also the multiple streams of revenue, you know, like that's, I mean, as of recent, the stock is.
I know. I saw that stock and I was just like, damn.
Yeah.
I did a calculation of what my equity be worth if I stayed.
Don't do that.
And I was like, what have I done? What have I done?
Yeah. And so, and we implemented solar, right? I think in our best year, my division, we had like 960 installs, I think it was in 2022 or something like that. And so we implemented it, we tagged it to as many accounts as we possibly could. But at the same time, hey, we love solar. The money's good. Let's the power of let's add it and see what we can do there. But let's not put all of our eggs in that basket. Yeah. Just there's a lot of variables you can't control in solar, And so I'm like, this we can't control. And we stayed put. But also it wasn't like it wasn't working. Yeah. Every year, including me and my guys, we're making more money every single year. Yep. So if we start going backwards at any moment in time, like, okay, let's do a reset. Let's start looking here. But if we're still growing, and maybe it's not like the solar wave when it was booming, but if we're still moving forward every single year, all right, I'm fine with that. And now it's becoming a little bit more than that. So
yeah, and it seems like there was kind of like this big wave, like, really flashy lights. People kind of left. You guys stayed put. You stuck to your principles. Now it's kind of evened out a little bit again now. Yeah. And it's like, oh yeah, that was absolutely the right decision. Was to stay. And it's like not even close, especially with the equity going on. Right? Yeah. It's like, so just holding true to that. And I think, it's worth having a conversation about, because I don't think it gets acknowledged that like, it was actually probably a courageous decision to like put your feet on the ground. Like, we're not leaving.
No, I mean, and I love, like, now the story's crazy. Now it's like, okay, we did, 645 when I came back, and there's 4 guys, and, this year we'll do north of 35,000 accounts. It's like, this is insane. It's absolutely crazy. Actually, Todd always said that. Like, you guys don't think big enough. Remember, you always yell at us. Yeah. You don't think big enough. You need to think bigger. I'm like, I'm thinking as big as I possibly can. And now I look back, I'm like, man, I really wasn't thinking big enough. I should have thought bigger. I mean, it's a full blown machine now, and it's beautiful what it can actually produce.
And it's ripping.
It's ripping right now.
Yeah, you guys are crushing. I was just visiting one of your teams last week in Houston. Shout out Jake and Dayton.
LeBlanc, Dayton LeBlanc.
And one thing it was kind of the first time was kind of astonishing. It was more of a personal thing. I walked into that room to go train them, and I'm like, these kids are so young.
Oh my gosh, how young is that office?
They're so young.
I'm like, all right, raise your hand. I'm like, who's over 21? And there's like a couple hands. I'm like, who's younger than 21?
Everyone.
And I'm like, who's 18? I was like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm getting old.
Yeah.
This is the first time I'm like, I'm old. Like, I'm the old guy coming into the group.
I think I'm one more year. I think I'm 1 year away. So then now when I go visit these offices, I'm like, how old are all the 18-year-olds? Stand up. Like, I've been knocking doors longer than you've been alive. Yeah. I think I'm like year 17 now. I can't wait to say that. I'm like, I've been knocking longer than you've been alive.
Yeah. Do you still go out and knock when you go out and visit a team?
Yeah.
How's that?
It's great. I usually knock with like higher performers and stuff, and kind of my one-on-one time. Love. Yeah, but I also I want to have a one-on-one with them, but I also don't want to take their time off the doors.
Right.
So we start cranking on the doors together, and we're talking between doors, and I can solve some problems and stuff like that. But it's also, I think it's really important for the leaders to kind of stay in the trenches.
Yeah.
See the problems on the iPad they're going through, seeing the technician issues, so I understand what they're going through, and I can hopefully solve those pain points.
Yeah, just getting feet on the ground. That's if I wanted to get back on the doors, but I can't, But there's been moments that I've been visiting these teams like, oh man, I want to go fire.
I don't want the rookies shadow you. The rookies like, can I shadow you? I'm like, no. You're not even going to know what this Picasso art looks like. You're not going to know this.
You have no idea.
You don't know what I'm doing, turning water into wine here. You're like, no, get back in line.
No idea. Talk to me about how important it is to have great partners and the process of picking great partners. Because, the 2 partners I'm aware of that you have, Puck and J-Lou, or all partners, guys who I look up to and admire. Talk to me about what principles you have when it came to picking partners, and what are some attributes you look for in partnership?
So the book Speed of Trust, right? It's 368 pages. I always tell my guys, don't read it. It sums up to this: when trust is high, speed is high. When trust is low, speed is slow. Okay. Now, it's a beautiful training for sales rep to consumer, right? How do you build trust on a cold call door? Anybody that says, hey, I want to think about it, I want to do some research, I'm going to talk to my neighbor, all they're saying is that you haven't earned my trust enough yet, or this would be a fast sell. It'd be a same-day sell, right? So how do you build trust? And I do a whole training on that. Well, it's not just that, though. It's also husband to wife. It's between neighbors. It's between employer to employee. And it's especially with business partners. So when there's really high trust between the business partners, I don't have to question what he's doing. I don't have to question if he's working as hard as me, if he's putting out fires like I am. I don't have to question if he's on vacation and just, cruising while I'm in the trenches catching grenades, So when there's really high trust, I spend zero, a great, my other leaders, like J-Lou, for example, right? Those guys are a couple of my regionals. I don't ever spend time with Josh Gorell and Asael and J-Lou talking about why Vivint's the best and why you need to stay here long-term. Because I already know they're all in, the trust is really high there. So anytime we meet and talk, it's about building, growing, adding, scaling, right? And that's why the business is booming. But if you're over here questioning your business partner all the time, or their intentions or their loyalty, that's draining so much time and energy that can go into building and scaling. Yeah. And so trust has to be key. And yeah, me and Puck, we're 50-50 partners on the whole thing. Then we have our regionals and stuff like that. But the trust is we're also like really close friends now because we work so much together and we travel so much together and stuff. It's like a real friendship and bond. It's awesome.
Yeah. How do you build that trust, right? Because it sounds like, I mean, your whole region is built on this foundation of trust. Have you had partners where trust was low?
Yeah. Well, I've had some, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How do you navigate those relationships?
Well, those are tough, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I've lost some of those relationships,
Sure.
like I feel like, I've had reps where I thought we were, closer, and that's probably the only part I really don't like about the job. Just to be, real with you. It's just like, I like to build relationships. I like to communicate, like to hang out with people. That's just who I am. And sometimes I'll like, oh my gosh, I got stabbed in the back, and I'm like, whoa. And then like, oh, it's just business. And I'm like, oh, I thought we were more than business. I thought there was like a friendship level here, but it is just business. You're totally right. My bad. I thought it was more than what it was. And then I just, if it's business, then it's done. We're move on. And so those ones are tough for me. Right. But then there's also times where like, even like me and Puck now, right, we're working together. If something is heard or said or interpreted the wrong way, I'll just call him out on it, and he'll do the same with me. Yeah. I'll hit him up and like have a conversation. Never text ever, guys. Never communicate.
And why never text?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I do this with my guys all the time because I'm like, hey, read that text message. He's like, yeah, and this is what he said, and he's reading it to me. I'm like, okay, now read it like you're skipping in a meadow and you're happy. Read it like that, like you're laughing. And then he reads it and goes, oh, yeah, that could be a little bit different. I'm like, yeah. So like you right now are upset. So you're reading that text like he's angry too. But he could be in a totally good mood. And you should tag a little video to this. Key and Peele does a beautiful skit on this where one guy's like, smoking a blunt, super high, sending text. And the other guy's like super mad over here. And they're just missing it. And they show up and they're having these two different emotions. Like, what's going on? Yeah. And that happens all the time. So I don't even allow. And when one of my leaders does reach out to me via text and it's a little hostile, a little like confrontational, I'll say, I definitely have a lot of responses to this. Let me know when you can jump on a phone call or we can meet in person. But I refuse to have this conversation via text message because I just know that person's so important to me and the situation is so important to me that I cannot leave this to misinterpretation. No way. And if he reads this, very defensively, it can come off wrong. But if he can hear my tone and he can, see how I feel and then he can read it totally, oh, okay, now I see where you're coming from. And I don't want to risk anything to misinterpretation.
That is so good. Do you do that with Hill too?
I try. Yeah. Yeah, we do pretty good. Yeah, all the time.
Yeah. Cool. Another thing too, that I as I watch you from afar that I admire is that not only are you a phenomenal recruiter, but you're also great at getting your leaders the recruits to become leaders, right? You're really great at leadership development, right? And so there's a lot of people in your organization I've worked with one-on-one over the years. They all like have stepped into bigger roles. And so talk to me about like that process. Like what are like the secrets of like not just getting someone in the door and getting them a badge and an iPad and on the doors, but like actually bought into the vision and then stepping into a leadership role for themselves. Great
question. And thank you for the compliment. I really appreciate that. Yeah. I hope that's true, but thank you. So one, like I a lot of times, and when you take these guys and they're so young, like, I don't know about you, but like for me, when I made my first $100,000, I was 24 years old. I remember like logging into like Wells Fargo and just looking at it over and over, just seeing it in my checking. Like, I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. And my dad's like, I can't believe it either. Like we were all just like, this is insane. Right. But it's the most money I've ever seen in my life. And it just blew my mind. But I remember like one year I made like 300K and the next year I made 400K. And between 300K and 400K, nothing changed in your life. The flights are the same, the restaurants are the same, the vacations are all the same. But one of my guys made his first 100K and that completely changed his life. And the text messages that I got of like the financial freedom, getting out of debt, you don't know how much you have saved me and my family's life, and I'm like, whoa. And when you make good money and you make good money many years in a row, it doesn't really move the needle for me that much. Like I don't like if I make a lot of money now, like, okay, it's cool, but like I have a good amount of money. It's fine. But when I help somebody else get their financial freedom, that is the best feeling. And so I have to explain that to my guys. I'm like, right now, I know you're trying to make your bag. I get it. You're trying to get your, like, let's go make your bread. Let's go get it, make our money. Perfect. But at one point, that's going to kind of plateau that like those endorphins won't be released as much, right? But when you start helping other people do that, you're going to realize, wait, I was an asset. I was a tool to this person getting to where he was trying to go. Yeah. That's incredible. And so there's that aspect of it. And then the second part of it is just like, well, yeah, as a business, point of view on it, it's like, well, if I can't get this guy to multiply and duplicate and scale his business, eventually I could possibly lose this really talented person in my organization, because all of us are kind of have that in their DNA. If you're doing like a commission only sales job, it's usually in your DNA that like you're a builder, you're a grower, you want to just, you want to do that. And so if they're just plateauing and making great money, let's just say it's $500,000, but if it's just $500,000 every single year, there's not that much excitement there.
Right.
And so it's my job to make sure to help him like keep that excitement. And that's coming with growing and building and changing other people's lives.
Yeah. So I want to get tactical here for a minute, right? So as you like, let's say you've got a rep who's kind of plateaued a little bit, you want to go boost him up. You want to go get him to see a bigger picture, like very tactically, what are like some of these questions and maybe activities or you do with someone to help them see the vision? So for someone listening, let's say they've got like, hey, I've got 3 guys underneath me. They're kind of stuck. I really want them to step up. Like, actually, what do I say in a one-on-one? Or like, what are some things I can actually do for this guy specifically to help them get to the next level?
Well, so I kind of show it to him like mathematically, right? It's like, okay, this is how much you're making on personal sales. And of course, you're going to get better because, every year we're going to get, we're going to sell more, of course.
Right.
Of course, you're going to make more money there. But at one point in time, there's only so much time in a day. I have the best rep in the whole smart home industry working for me, Tristan Pears, right? Legend, GOAT, right? Yeah. Goated, 7 years in a row, best rep in the whole company, right? But I think his best year is like 645 or something like that. And that's it. And then no one's ever done that ever again. And so, okay, now we've seen the ceiling. There's only so much time in personal sales. So Tristan's done that and he's making stupid money doing that, but he can no longer scale his income ever again past that. There's only so much time in a day unless he starts to recruit and build and grow. And so I show them the mathematical part of it so they understand the importance of it. Okay, cool, get it. Now, how do we go and do that? Well, I will help you recruit. Right now, you don't know how to recruit. So what I need you to do is I'm going to help you find people. So we can do shoulder tapping on campus. I can show you how to do that. We can do some social media. We can do, of course, just start with your close network, friends, cousins, blah, 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 mission buddies. Go that route first. Bring them in. Bring them to the meeting. And then I will recruit them for you. You watch me recruit them. You can record it. You can take notes, blah, blah. And we'll do that many, many times. And then soon you'll be able to do it on your own. And then usually now I only really get involved in like bigger hitters, people bringing over teams, and blah, blah, and like, stuff like that.
Yeah. But, so let's talk about the tactics a little bit, because I'm a big believer in this and I train on this all the time, that recruiting is a skill set just like sales.
Yeah.
That you have your door approach when you knock on a door, like break preoccupation, build value, pull back, transition, right? All that. There's the same things in recruiting, right? When you're sitting down with them. So for you, what are like the points someone needs to hit in a recruiting meeting?
My recruiter needs to be saying to this guy, I guess. Or
yeah. So it's like, okay, I'm going to sit down with a recruit. Like, what do I say? Like, what are the pain points? So for me, I always say like, hey, build the vision, right? What you want to do, right? Find the pain.
Yeah.
This person has some level of pain point somewhere in their life, right? I always say, then expose the wound, right? Oh, I've got 30,000 in credit card debt. Then I'm like, okay, what's that like? What's your current plan to get out of there? Like, what happens if you don't, right? So now the wound's exposed, and then solve their pain. Right. So that's kind of like
I mean, yeah, you're definitely going to want to like, this guy sat down with us, right? So I'm always, here's some of the things I do. I always go, okay, so why did you sit down with us in the first place? Why are we here? Oh, this or that, whatever the reason was. Okay, so I at least have an idea of what they're looking for. Okay, got it. Another thing I do all the time, I ask the recruit, I go, what do your parents do for a living? And they're like, oh, my mom's a teacher, my dad's, I'm like, okay. And then right away, I will know how the last 20 years this kid is, I would say, like, is brainwashed, or the environment he grew up in of what was taught to them. Because I'm like, oh, dad's a lawyer, mom's a doctor, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I know 100% I'm not going to say anything about dropping out of school, because it's been embedded in this kid that he's getting his degree no matter what, right? And so I always ask what their parents do for a living, and that helps me navigate if I'm going left or if I'm going right in this conversation. And sometimes it's like, oh, I can hear, oh, my dad, construction worker, my mom's stay-at-home mom. I've been working, been taking care of myself since 16. Now I know I'm going to navigate this completely differently than, oh, I'm going to school. My parents pay for everything. I'm just here to kind of find out more about this. I'm like, okay, I'm taking a strong right on this. So I would always do that, okay? Another little secret I always do too, like when I'm recruiting, is a lot of recruiters don't get the spouse involved. So if they're married, and you're only talking to the husband over and over and over, well, this guy is going back home and he's relaying that to his 50-50 partner, his spouse. And you don't know what her rebuttals are. You don't know what her obstacles are or what her pushback is or whatever, vice versa, whatever this, spouse could be, right? And so I would get them involved, bring them in, talk to them. I have won countless recruiting battles against other people at Vivint or other companies because they just kept taking the guy golf and taking it and paying no attention to the spouse. Yeah. And I've gotten her involved and I found out what her, I'm like, oh wait, no, I can solve that for you. This, and I solve it. She goes, oh, he didn't. And he's like, I didn't know you guys could do that. I'm like, oh yeah, we definitely can. And we figure out that problem and then boom, it's done. But there's a whole other partner they're not even bringing in. Those are like some of the little tricks that I would definitely do. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are money. You got to get the spouse, just like in sales, you got to get the spouse involved.
You have to.
Yeah. Right. With that being said, right, as you look back at like your career, do you have any like major regrets?
I mean, I wish I would have started Vivint earlier, right? I wish I would have started Vivint like many years earlier. Of course, the natural one is like, even if you have your college degree or your other plan, and this is just something to raise some money to go do your thing, which is fine. We definitely want you. We want to be the vehicle to help you get to where you're trying to go. That's totally fine. But just plan on, what if you're really good? What if you make incredible money? Jeff Mendez, right? Have the end in mind in the beginning, right? Like this is his big thing, right? But it's smart. It's like, I wish I would have done that because I wish I would have been like, okay, let's act like I'm going to be a regional one day. So let's build a foundation I can build on. A lot of these guys are building foundations on sand. And then that first solar storm comes in and just washes it to the ground. If you're building a foundation on concrete, when those storms come in, you can weather those storms and keep going. So I wish I would have done that earlier in my career.
Yeah, as you talk about the storms, by the time this podcast comes out, it's going to be midsummer, right? And a lot of people listen to this are going to be kind of getting over that phase where it's like the excitement of the newness of the summer is over, right? Our Houston boys, it's going to be 110 degrees, right?
100%, good job visiting earlier.
100% humidity, right? It's those days where it's like, man, it's the excitement's over, but you can't really feel the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
There's competition season really hasn't kicked in too much yet. The cup's not started, right? And it's just like, man.
Yeah. Well, especially for those that want to be leaders.
Yeah.
Right? People are watching you. Like they're watching you. They're going to see how you react right now. They want to see how much of a dog you are. Are you hungry or are you just trying to get a snack? Right? You're trying to get a meal. Like, are you hungry? Let's see it. Because I intentionally knew my reps were watching me. And I'm like, I'm going to have integrity in what I said I was going to do. If I said I was going to finish the summer, I'm going to finish the summer. If I said I'm going to knock these hours, I'm going to knock these hours. I don't care what it is. But I would put my door-to-door career against like anyone else watching right now of the shit that I had to army crawl through to get to where I'm at. Like a dam breaking in North Dakota or in Canada, and I lost 14 accounts in one day.
What do you mean?
I was at 20 one day. Knocking doors. I was the leader of my little group,
Wait,
right?
20 in a day?
No, I had 20 on total for the year.
Okay.
I'm at 20. I'm at 20. And then the National Guard comes like skidding in. They start throwing all these sandbags everywhere. And then CNN's got their cameras. And all my guys are like, dude, come pick me up. They're telling me, my dad, we're fine. Self-flood sensors. Like, you're fine, And then they're like, no, dude, we got to get out of here. And then I guess a dam broke in Canada and it came down and it flooded this whole city.
Way.
But it only flooded my area. And I go, thank heavens though, because none of my reps would have lasted. But I went from 20 and I woke up the next day and I was at 6. I lost 14 accounts in one day with a flood, And it's like, everyone's watching me. Oh, you just lost, you were at 20, now you're at 6, now you're behind me. What are you going to do? Are you going to finish? Are you going to complain? Is this going to be your scapegoat all summer of why you weren't the best? No, I was still the best sales rep in that office, losing 14 in one day and like digging myself out of that hole, right? Getting in a car accident on the way to area with 3 reps in my car. Car goes airborne on the freeway, hits me in the fast lane.
Come on.
Hits me in the fast lane. We flipped 3 times, landed upside down. I blacked out everything. Next thing you know, I'm getting dragged out. They're cutting off my shirt, putting me in the ambulance. And then I'm knocking 3 days later with a cast, broken hand, hopped up on Percocet, knocking doors, doing my thing, right? It's like, I can go on and on, living in a trailer park for 4 months with no running water. Every day I woke up and showered at the YMCA every single day, and then went to my meeting. The lady at the front desk handed me a bag of rolls because she thought I was homeless, And I was 24 years old and I made $100K that year showering at the YMCA every day with no running water in a trailer. So it's like, but people are watching, and then I do those things intentionally. So I'm like, whoa, wait, hold on. I'm the one showering at the YMCA. I'm the one getting rained on in my little tent in the trailer park, and you have an apartment with air conditioning, and I still outsold you today. I'm like, I'm hungry. You're just looking for a meal. There's a difference. Like, you got it. And so For those right now listening in the middle of summer and they're having those troubles, like, no, like dig deep. You're going to use these stories later in the future. You're going to pull from this later in the future. And right now you're building a foundation. You can build a foundation on sand with a bunch of excuses and then you're going to get washed away. I'd be happy. Embrace all this stuff. You know, the whole, what's his name? Jocko, like, good. Like, yeah, this is good. You know,
this thing broke. Good. Wife left you. Good.
That's how I am. Like, when I take out my leaders now, and I was in Houston, I was like taking them out to dinner, and they're like, oh man, this is happening, and then this happened. I'm like, good. Yeah. Oh, this tech fell through the ceiling. I'm like, good.
Yep.
Good. Good. And what'd you do after? You better have sold after. Good. That's exactly right. We've had how many techs fall through our ceilings? You know?
I've had a tech fall through the ceiling. I've had that happen. It's perfect.
If you haven't had one, then you're not selling enough.
If you haven't had a tech fall through the ceiling, you haven't sold enough.
You have not sold enough.
Yeah, the mantra that I teach a lot of the guys I work with is, I can handle this.
Yeah.
So whatever happens, you just say to yourself, I can handle this.
Yeah.
I can handle this. Six jobs canceled. Girlfriend's pissed off at me. It's 110 degrees. Right? Karen just called the cops on me. HOA's telling me everyone's a scam. I can handle this.
It's beautiful. I mean, my hardest summer, I was managing. We did 2,800 accounts in the Bay Area that year. We were killing it. And I was like at 175. My wife, Hillary, was pregnant with her firstborn, sent her home to Utah to get ready to have the baby. And then my mom has cancer at the same time. I fly home, we have our firstborn baby, and then 10 days later, my mom passes away from cancer unexpectedly. She was supposed to have a lot more longer time.
Yeah.
Then we put the little baby, you know, those newborns, like a football in the car seat, right? And then drive 12 hours to San Diego, have the funeral. And then after the funeral, we're hanging out and stuff like that. And then it's like, you know, what do we do? And Puck, you know, was my boss at the time, wasn't even my business partner. I was like, dude, you're at 175, you're fine. Like, don't worry about it. Like, you're good. Like, you had a great summer. Like, well, no, man, all my guys are watching. I said I was going to finish the summer. I know my mom wouldn't want me just sitting around moping about this and stuff, and my feelings. Like, she would want me to go back to work and provide for my family. So we just drove up from San Diego back to San Francisco, finished the summer, but I didn't realize that newborn life, right? Getting 3-4 hours of sleep only because they're up all the time, then running correlation, then knocking doors. And my mom's passed away days earlier, and I'm trying to be focused on the doors. By far, 100%, Doug, the hardest summer I've ever had in my life. And I pray to God I never have a summer like that ever again. But that was the summer that I grew the most. Yeah. And the year before that, I sold 203. And I told myself I was going to sell more. And I sold 204 that year. I sold one more than the year before because it was that important. And I did extension. And don't get me started on extension. Extension is like, that's a dark spot, you know. Like, sometimes I'm like driving without my seatbelt, bottle of bleach. Like, extension's rough, you know. So to finish extension and do all that, by far was the most growth I've ever had. But that created something in me. That put a foundation in there. Boom. And I lean on that. And so when obstacles do come my way, I'm like, it was never that. It was never that. I can handle this.
Yeah, you know, one thing that we have in common is we both lost a parent. And my dad, I'm so glad you're bringing this up, because one thing it was so hard, but I'm grateful for, was my dad died my rookie year. So my first year of Vivint, I wasn't even going to go out. Like, it was like, Dad got diagnosed with cancer. No way. I've never done summer sales. I'm not going to go do summer sales this last summer. Then Casey Baugh literally told me, he's like, hey, if you come out this summer, I'll buy your flights to and from Salt Lake whenever you want.
He's
right?
a man.
And so I'm like, okay, I'm in. Right. So when I was out selling, I'm like, I wasn't just out there summer sales, hanging out, see what's going on. I'm like, every day that I'm out here is time away from my dad. Like, I'm not messing around.
Yeah.
So there was just like a deeper layer of like commitment that I learned part of my summer sales journey. Like, that's how I learned the job. I learned the job of like the deep level of commitment. And I look back at it, I'm like, if my dad wasn't sick his first year, I don't know what happened. What happened.
Having that why.
And so, no, he ended up passing away my first summer too. And so I'm curious, like, you know, having lost a parent and also knowing what that's like, and in what ways did that change you? You
know what? I'm glad you asked. I mean, we can relate to this, but when my mom passed, it's hard for me. I took my dad to Ruth's Chris one time, and there was, you know, we don't cover much. And I took him to Ruth's Chris. It was the first time he's ever been in that steakhouse ever, like, or even had like a steak like that, you know, sizzling coming out. And I remember it got delivered and we were all excited. I think I took him for Father's Day. I was there with my older brother. And then he was just like, man, I wish I would have had these experiences with your mom. I wish we could have done that. And he always had that, like, we're going to do the Alaskan cruise. when I retire. We're going to go do that one day. And then they never got that because my mom passed away when she was 58, right? And never got to get to that point. And so now, man, now it's like embedded in me. Like, yeah, I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to work harder than a lot more people around me for sure. But I'm also going to play really hard. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to play hard. I'm going to have experiences. I'm going to live. I'm going to go see Italy in my 20s. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do the whatever trip I want to do because I'm financially free to go and do that now. And I work my ass off in the summers to be able to have those experiences. And Jesse Itzler, when he came to spoke to us one time, it was very impactful. And he had the same thing. A parent passed away and stuff. And he talked about, he goes, you don't have 8 more years left with your dad or your parents. You have, if you're visiting them like me, I'm in Utah, they're in San Diego, you got like, Thanksgiving, Christmas, blah, blah. He's like, you have about 2 to 3 experiences a year with them, right? Visits. And so he's like, you have, times 8, blah, blah, whatever. He's like, you only have like 20, whatever, more experiences with them. And I started looking at it that way, not like, oh, I have 20 years left with them. I only have this many.
40 more times.
With them. And so I started just, okay. And then now, I'm flying out my dad and his new wife to DC. They're going to visit my DC office. He's going to see me come do a correlation. Yes. He's going to go see like the White House, do the museum and all that stuff. He's never been there. I'm flying him first class. He's never flown first class in his life. He's 71 years old, right? And it's just like, now I get to do that. And I'm checking these experiences because I don't know how much time I have left with them. And I'm so grateful that I put in the time early in my life to be at this position now to make sure I'm living now. So when something happens to me and Hillary, we have so many memories already, so many experiences I can lean back on forever. But a lot of people don't have that because they don't have the financial means, And so that's why it's so important to like get after it while you can.
You got to just commit and do it because you just don't know.
You just don't know.
You just don't know. It goes so quick. And shifting modes here a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about Hill because your guys' relationship is a relationship I look up to. I admire, right? I'm on this like quest to find a wife, right? Have been for a long time.
Yeah.
And like your guys' relationship is something I really look up to. I can tell you guys really love and care about each other and you guys have really playful. And tell me the importance, especially in this industry, the importance of having the right partner.
Yeah. It's crucial. So I'm listening to this podcast one time with Dan Patrick, sports podcast. Bryan Cranston's on there, the actor. And he's like, what advice do you have for young actors coming up? And Bryan Cranston goes, they should all be like Tom Hanks. And he's like, why is that? He goes, well, Tom Hanks, he has this very like sane, normal family life. He got married young, had kids and everything. And he's kept that separate from like Hollywood and stuff. And he has this very sane life so he can go insane at work. And I pulled over and wrote that down. Get your family life as sane as possible so you can go insane at work. And I really live by that. So me and Hillary, like, I don't like when we do our yearly thing where like, we get a sitter, we go to a hotel room, I write down our yearly goals. She makes fun of me the entire time. She's just trolling me the whole time. And I don't care. I'm like, I don't care. Right. And so I'm like, it's this. And it's like, we make these, couple goals, kid goals, like financial goals we want to do. I still do that. But like, she knew the plan. Like from the very beginning, like, hey, I'm going to go regional. I'm going to go back in here. I know I only have 4 reps and I'm 27 years old, but I promise you, babe, I'm going to hit regional. We're going to hit this, but it's going to be a team effort. I'm going to have to be knocking doors a lot. We're going to live in an apartment with 2 kids in the summer sometimes. And I'm going to be grinding. I specifically remember Jack, my first son, we were in the Bay Area and he's like on crack. He's like 3 years old, probably headbutting walls, who knows, eating crayons. And she's pregnant with our second, Royal. And I'm holding her hair as she's throwing up. So she's throwing up because she's morning sickness, blah, blah, and she's just throwing up. I'm holding her hair. And then the correlation is about to start. And I'm crazy about being on time, like always. And I go, babe, I love you, but I have to go right now or I'm going to be late and I can't be late. And I got to open up and be an example. And she's like, it's okay. I already know that. We've talked about that. Just go ahead and go. And I let go of her hair and she's still throwing up. And I just walk out. My son's just headbutting who knows what. And I'm like, sorry. I go. And I go to the meeting. And I feel bad doing that as a husband, but at the same time, like we talked about that and the importance of it. And she was on the same page as me. She's like, no, you have my full support. Let's do it. And it's a full team effort. And so I don't have to like worry about a lot of things in my home life because it's so sane and so dialed because of her, because she's amazing. And that allows me to put in a lot of time and energy to go insane at work.
You guys are just on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just committed, buy-in, like I got your back, right? She has your back. And in return, you did give her a nice remodel of the house.
Yeah, which was more than a house cost.
I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen it on remodel was more than the house.
So I got a little out of hand, but we're here.
Looks amazing.
Yeah. You need to come by and look.
I need to come see it, man. I need to see. Yeah, and again, I can tell like I've seen people navigate this industry with the right spouse.
Yeah,
and I've also seen people navigate this industry with the spouse that creates resistance, and it completely changes the trajectory of your life.
It really does, and there's so many could have beens. Like, that guy could have been. That guy she could have been. Like, and they married the wrong spouse, and it's like that really hindered their growth.
I mean, it really is the most important decision you'll ever make in your whole life.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, she had a really big factor of me coming back to Vivint, because when I was doing advertising, Protection One was blowing up. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember they had a little moment.
They had a little moment, and they it was like a 2-year little stunt there, and then they offered me some substantial money to go over there, more than what I made the summer before. And I was like, hey, Hillary, like, well, let's just go over there. And she was like, no, like, I just trust everyone at Vivint. They're good people. It's proven. Like, let's just go back. If we're going to go back to Doria, let's go there. I'm like, well, yeah, you don't really handle the finances. Let me show you. Like, this, carry the two. That's a lot more money than what we just made. And she's just like, no, I just feel good about this. I'm like, okay. And then we went back to Vivint, and it's a high five, no re-sign, but no nothing, and by far the best financial decision we've ever made.
Women's intuition, man.
Yeah.
They're in tune. Well, Aaron, I love chatting with you. I love you, brother.
We can do this all day long. This is like normal, dude. This is
we haven't
lunch.
even started yet. No, I appreciate you, brother, and I'm inspired by you, and I look up to you, and I think you're the man, bro.
Hey, thanks for all you're doing for me and my guys.
Yeah,
they're doing great. I appreciate it big time.
Love you, brother.
Love you, Doug.